Imagine if, tomorrow, we discovered an alien civilization. What if it was confirmed that humans are no longer the only intelligent beings in the universe? What might these alien races look like? Could we communicate with them? Or would we even recognize them as intelligent life? How would they perceive our species? Is it possible they would take one look and dismiss us as primitive organisms, viewing Earth as nothing more than a planetary nursery? Of course, we can let our imaginations run wilder. Perhaps they would impart advanced scientific knowledge, allowing our civilization to leap to a higher level. But on the flip side, could an encounter with aliens bring about a devastating end for Earth? Don't worry, this is all just speculation. Our generation may never see that day. Hello, aliens, and welcome to our bedtime exploration of the cosmos. Over the next 30 minutes, we will use current scientific data, blended with a heavy dose of imagination and hypothesis, to embark on a sci-fi thought experiment, a meeting with extraterrestrials. The expanse of stars before you is the Milky Way galaxy. Our sun is just one of the hundreds of billions of stars in this galaxy, an unremarkable member of a vast cosmic family. Do you feel small yet? Now, imagine that there isn't just one Milky Way, but hundreds of billions of such galaxies in the universe. So, how big is the universe? Measuring it in kilometers is meaningless. Therefore, cosmic distances are typically measured in light years. The distance light travels in 1 year, which is about 9.6 trillion kilometers. It takes light 100,000 years just to cross our own Milky Way. This means that whenever we gaze at the stars, we are actually looking back in time. Light from other galaxies takes millions of years to reach us, and light from the most distant regions of the universe takes billions of years. What we see are events that happened before the Earth was even born, when the universe was still in its infancy. In such a vast cosmos, the number of stars is greater than all the grains of sand on all the beaches and deserts of Earth combined. So, what is the probability that we are the only intelligent life in this immense expanse? If we truly are alone, that would be the strangest thing of all. Are we alone? The answer is likely no. After millennia of believing we were unique, scientists are making astonishing discoveries on Earth, within our solar system, and out in the deep universe. Some scientists even believe we are only a few years away from our first contact with an alien civilization. We may soon know we are not alone, and that day could become one of the most significant events in human history. So, what might they look like? Would they even have genders? Or is it possible that we've already had a third kind of contact with them? Some believe aliens have visited us in the past, but Stephen Hawking issued a stern warning to humanity. He argued that looking back at Earth's history, encounters between advanced and primitive civilizations rarely ended well, and that was between members of the same species. Therefore, he felt that contacting aliens was playing with fire. Many scientists acknowledge that Hawking's intuition is a plausible scenario. However, human curiosity is innate. It's unlikely we would refuse the opportunity to contact an alien race, no matter the potential danger. Today, the idea of extraterrestrial life is no longer just science fiction. For some of the top minds in astronomy, its existence is almost a certainty. So why are scientists now so convinced that we are not alone? Let me walk you through the timeline. For almost all of human history, we had never discovered a planet outside our own solar system. That historical moment came in 1995 with the discovery of 51 Pegasi b, a planet about 50 light years from Earth, which stunned the scientific community. It marked the discovery of another planet, another solar system. Since that day, with rapid advancements in telescope and computer technology, we have discovered over 100 more exoplanets, and we know this is just the beginning. The universe's vastness is beyond our imagination, but with new observational tools, we can see more of its objects and activities. It is almost certain that there are millions, or even more, other planets in the universe. Thanks to astronomers like Jeff Marcy and others in the field, we now know of over 130 planets outside our solar system. Marcy stated that he felt humbled when he realized our sun is quite ordinary and, like other stars, has a planetary system. Many people hope we are special and unique, but he believes this universality is a natural and reassuring state of being. So how do astronomers discover planets that are light years away? The answer is by measuring the wobble of distant stars. If a planet is orbiting a star, its gravity exerts a slight pull on the star, causing it to wobble. Scientists can measure this gravitational wobble from millions of miles away with an accuracy of a few meters per second, a remarkable achievement. To find smaller, Earth-sized planets, however, will require another technological leap. And such instruments are already being built. The Kepler Space Telescope, launched in 2009, had a mission to stare at thousands of nearby stars. Its principle was simple. When a planet passes in front of its star, it briefly blocks some of the starlight. By measuring this dip in brightness, scientists can deduce the planet's size. Scientists were very optimistic, predicting that within a decade of Kepler's launch, we would find at least 50 Earth-sized planets. However, finding habitable planets is only half the battle. The real goal is to find their inhabitants. For that, a group of scientists has been quietly working for over 40 years. The SETI Institute in California is the cradle of the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. It brings together the world's top minds for a complex and long-term exploration. Senior astronomer Seth Shostak has dedicated most of his career to this cause, a passion he traces back to his childhood obsession with books about flying saucers. Shostak and his colleagues have chosen a seemingly primitive, yet highly effective method to find aliens: listening to the radio. Radio signals spread out in all directions like invisible ripples. For nearly a century, our radio broadcasts, television signals, and speeches have not only been received by us, but have also leaped into space, traveling at the speed of light into the cosmos. From Martin Luther King Jr.'s famous speeches to Neil Armstrong's "One Small Step on the Moon," these have become Earth's interstellar calling cards. These radio waves travel at the speed of light, which sounds fast. Is just over a second from the Earth to the Moon. But on the vast interstellar scale, the speed of light is snail-paced. This means that if we were to receive a message from the other side of the Milky Way tomorrow, it would have actually been sent 100 years ago, when our ancestors were just beginning to establish themselves on this planet. Today, 100,000 years later, we finally have the technology to listen for a possible echo from the stars. So, where is the best place to listen? The answer was the Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico, which housed the world's premier single-dish radio telescope. Built in a massive natural sinkhole, its dish was 305 meters in diameter. Its sensitivity was so high, it could have detected a mobile phone signal on Jupiter. From 1997, Arecibo was the base for Project Phoenix, a SETI Institute-led project aiming to scan about 1,000 sun-like stars within 200 light-years of Earth. While this is akin to searching only in our own backyard on a cosmic scale, every great exploration must have a starting point. During the scan, millions of radio channels were monitored simultaneously. The universe itself is full of noise, like unending white noise, but these are just random natural phenomena. SETI, as electronic ears, are specially tuned to capture intentional signals that could prove the existence of intelligent life. It's like trying to distinguish a clear flute note amidst the roar of a waterfall. Natural signals have a broad spectrum, whereas artificial communication signals, like TV or radio, are compressed into a very narrow frequency band, a so-called narrowband signal. This is the evidence they're looking for. Proof that somewhere in the cosmos, someone has built a transmitter. After decades of listening, we have found nothing. But this doesn't mean failure. After all, this search could take hundreds of years or more. We are still in the early stages. So besides passively listening, What else can we do? A new type of interstellar communication might point us in the right direction, looking for a beam of light 1,000,000 times brighter than the sun. Since the radio spectrum has remained silent, scientists began to consider another possibility. Perhaps alien civilizations don't use radio at all, or they find it too primitive. Maybe they are communicating in a way we haven't thought of. Dan Wertheimer has also dedicated the last few decades to the search for aliens, but he firmly believes we should not only use our ears, but also our eyes. Wertheimer is in charge of the Berkeley Optical SETI project. His team no longer listens for radio waves, but instead searches the night sky for a highly unusual flash of light, an intense pulse that might last only 100,000th of a second. The most powerful lasers on Earth can produce beams of light 1,000,000 times brighter than the sun. Wertheimer believes that aliens might be using this method to attract the attention of other civilizations, like sending a cosmic Morse code with a laser. The advantages of optical signals are clear. They are highly directional and can carry a massive amount of information. They might be able to transmit the entire knowledge base of a civilization at once: science, art, history, and even tell us how to connect to a galactic internet. But how can we distinguish this artificial light from ordinary starlight? The key lies in the density of photons. A laser flashing for 100,000th of a second can deliver as many as 10 photons to a telescope in an instant. Even the brightest star cannot do this in such a short time. Wertheimer's team monitors each star for 1 minute. If no unusual flashes are detected, they move on to the next one. They have scanned tens of thousands of stars so far, but have yet to see that long-awaited beam of light. However, Wertheimer remains confident because technology is advancing at an unprecedented rate. Telescopes and detectors are becoming more powerful, and he believes they will eventually have the capability to observe hundreds of millions of stars. This kind of almost there excitement is not new. Back in the 1960s, Nobel laureate Professor Anthony Hewish from the UK had a similar experience. He and his team, using a simple radio receiver that looked like a clothesline, accidentally picked up a series of extremely regular pulse signals with a stable interval of about 1 second. This was very strange, because celestial bodies do not typically flash with clock-like precision. A bold idea emerged. Could this be an intelligent signal from outer space? They even jokingly named it the LGM signal, for little green men. However, the truth was soon revealed. Hewish realized this was not a greeting from aliens, but a previously unknown natural phenomenon. The signal came from a type of dead star, known as a pulsar, which rotates at high speed, emitting beams of radiation like a cosmic lighthouse. Since passive waiting might lead to repeated disappointment, why not take the initiative and send our own voice out into the universe? Over 40 years ago, NASA did just that. On behalf of all humanity, they sent messages in a bottle into the interstellar ocean. The Pioneer 10 probe, launched in 1972 after visiting Jupiter, plunged into deeper space. It is now over 13 billion kilometers away, heading toward the red giant star Aldebaran in the constellation Taurus, expected to arrive in about 2 million years. If a civilization happens to exist there, they will find a special calling card from Earth on the probe, a metal plaque. It not only depicts the appearance of humans and Earth as position in the galaxy, but also marks the symbol of hydrogen, the most common element in the universe. Going even further is its successor, Voyager 1. It is now the farthest human-made object from the Sun, over 23 billion kilometers away, about to leave our familiar home. It is destined to wander forever among the stars of the Milky Way. It also carries a precious gift, a gold-plated record. It contains various images from Earth, sounds of nature, beautiful music, and a sincere greeting from a child of Earth. The record's cover is thoughtfully engraved with playback instructions and Earth's return address. Of course, waiting for these messages in a bottle to be found and replied to could take millions of years. So why do scientists still firmly believe we are not alone? The answer lies in the awe-inspiringly large numbers of the universe. It's estimated that in our observable universe alone, the number of stars is at least 7, followed by 22 zeros. Among such a sea of stars, how many can be cradles of life? Back in 1961, the father of SETI, Frank Drake, proposed the famous Drake equation. He tried to estimate, through a formula, how many intelligent civilizations capable of communication might exist in the Milky Way. This equation combines several variables, such as the rate of star formation, the fraction of those stars with planets, the number of planets that could support life, and the length of time for which such civilizations release detectable signals into space. Of course, the equation is more of a thinking framework than a math problem that can be precisely solved, as many of its variables are still unknown to us. However, even with the most conservative estimates, many scientists conclude that the number of intelligent civilizations in the Milky Way alone should be substantial. But this immediately leads to a deeper paradox, one keenly pointed out by physicist Enrico Fermi in 1950, later known as the Fermi paradox. He asked a soul-searching question: so, where is everybody? If the Milky Way is indeed so bustling, why have we heard nothing? David Grinspoon, a consultant for NASA's space exploration strategy, firmly believes we are not alone. This belief stems from his understanding of the evolution of life on Earth and his insight into the universal laws of the cosmos. He proposes an interesting seedling hypothesis. The universe is like an ancient forest, filled with towering trees and all sorts of strange and wonderful creatures. Our Earth civilization is but a newly sprouted seedling in this forest. Perhaps one day we will grow to be noticeable, but for now, we are too small and too young to attract the attention of those towering trees. Besides the possibility that we are not yet interesting enough, a more direct explanation for the Fermi paradox might be the despairing vastness of the universe. The laws of physics themselves are a difficult barrier to interstellar travel. Einstein told us that faster-than-light travel is impossible. Any object with mass would require infinite energy to approach the speed of light. Traveling at sublight speeds would take millions of years. Of course, this is from the perspective of our short human lifespan. We often fall into a kind of temporal chauvinism, thinking that what cannot be accomplished in a few hundred years is impossible. But what if a species has a lifespan 1,000 or 10,000 times ours? A journey of tens of thousands of years might be like a long hike for them. Similarly, we might suffer from environmental chauvinism, finding it hard to imagine life existing in what we consider to be desolate environments. The best way to break this mindset is to return to our own planet and see just how resilient life can be. In fact, scientists are constantly pushing the boundaries of our understanding of life in some of the most inhospitable corners of the Earth. They have discovered that if life can take root in Earth's most extreme conditions, then the possibility of it appearing elsewhere in the universe is undoubtedly much greater. You might ask, even if we find microbes, they can't talk or tell us the secrets of the universe. So what's the point? Grinspoon believes the significance would be revolutionary, because discovering even the simplest life anywhere else in the solar system would mean that life is a common phenomenon in the universe, an inevitable product of planetary evolution. This would also greatly boost our confidence that more advanced intelligent species exist far away, and that some of them, like us, are eager to communicate. To find the limits of life, astrobiologist Penny Boston has moved her laboratory to the darkest, harshest places on Earth. She is looking for extremophiles miracles of life that can survive in boiling water, strong acids, high salt, and even radiation. She compares her work to writing a microbial field guide for exploring alien worlds. In the bottomless Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico, in complete darkness, Boston discovered microbes that can live by eating rocks. They draw energy from inorganic materials through slow chemical reactions, building an ecosystem completely independent of sunlight. In California's Mono Lake, a salt lake 3 times saltier than the ocean, life also teems. And in the permafrost of Alaska, scientists have even successfully revived microbes that had been frozen for millions of years, but were still alive. Boston concludes that the more we can expand our imagination about the limits of life, the more likely we are to recognize it when we encounter it on another planet one day. And all these discoveries point in a clear direction. It's time for us to pack our bags and start a real interstellar field trip. This interstellar field trip will begin with some of the most fascinating worlds in our own solar system. The first stop is Saturn's largest moon, Titan. It is unique in the solar system, the only moon with a thick atmosphere. It is shrouded in a mysterious orange haze, and scientists speculate that beneath this fog lie lakes and oceans of liquid methane, a world rich in organic compounds, astonishingly similar to the primordial Earth where life began. To unveil this mystery, the Cassini probe embarked on a long journey in 1997. When it reached Titan, a sub-probe bravely plunged into that unknown atmosphere. Although Titan's temperature is as low as -179 degrees Celsius and its atmospheric density is 4 times that of Earth. If it could land successfully, the data sent back could completely change our understanding of the origin of life. If Titan represents primordial hope, then Jupiter's moon, Europa, represents a hidden miracle. At first glance, it is just a dead world covered by a thick layer of ice. But images from the Galileo probe reveal the surface covered with a network of huge cracks. This kind of terrain is similar to only one place in the solar system, Earth's Arctic Ocean, where beneath the floating ice lies a vast liquid ocean. A stunning inference was born from this. Beneath Europa's ice shell, a huge liquid ocean may also be hidden. What force keeps it from freezing completely in the deep space far from the sun? The answer is Jupiter. Europa is repeatedly pulled and stretched by the immense gravity of Jupiter and its neighboring moons. This constant tidal flexing generates enough heat to keep its core warm, thus maintaining the liquid state of the subsurface ocean. Future missions hope to send an orbiter to confirm the existence of the ocean, and even find weak points in the ice to send down an underwater robot to dive into that unknown deep sea. It might find hydrothermal vents on the ocean floor, similar to those on earthworm springs, rich in nutrients gushing from the planet's core, which are oases of life in Earth's deep seas. Could our closest alien neighbors be living in this dark and warm ocean? Of course, when talking about life in our solar system, one name can never be ignored: Mars. As our most familiar next-door neighbor, Mars has always been the top candidate in the search for extraterrestrial life. In recent years, one probe after another has landed on the red planet, and the evidence they send back is becoming clearer and clearer. Mars is covered with ancient volcanoes and wind-eroded landscapes. Most importantly, locked in the texture of its rocks is ironclad evidence that liquid water once existed. On Earth, water equals life. Therefore, scientists are almost certain that in the distant past, Mars also had its own story of life. As exploration within our solar system points to the same conclusion, that life is not exclusive to Earth, the next question naturally arises: if they exist, what would they look like? For years, Hollywood defined our imagination of aliens with simple props and humanoid figures. But now, computer graphics technology has given artists an infinite canvas. Designer Joel Hagen, who once worked for NASA, believes we subconsciously model intelligent beings on ourselves, a deeply ingrained anthropocentrism. To break this mindset, Hagen designed a creature living on a low-gravity jungle planet. It has long, slender legs and a peculiar scissor-like limb that can help it cling to the ground in strong winds, and also allow it to stretch to great heights to interact with its environment in complex ways. This reminds us that the forms of life are far more diverse than we can imagine. However, While scientists and artists are trying to imagine extraterrestrial life, many people on Earth firmly believe that we don't need to search far away at all, because they have already been here. A survey showed that more than half of Americans believe that extraterrestrial beings have already visited Earth. This belief finds its most famous evidence in the wheat fields of Wiltshire, England. Overnight, huge and complex geometric patterns appeared out of nowhere, and flat wheat fields crop circles were born. Theories of alien landing sites, interstellar message maps, and even some mysterious plasma vortexes abounded. But John Lundberg's explanation is much simpler. They are all hoaxes. And the reason he is so sure is that he himself is one of the world's top crop circle makers. To prove his point, he agreed to make one for us on the spot. With a pre-designed computer drawing, a measuring tape, and a simple wooden board called a stalk stomper, a complex and beautiful circle was completed in less than 90 minutes. The whole process was efficient and clever, but devoid of aliens. Yet even so, some stubborn believers think that only those made in remote, unwitnessed locations are genuine. Similar mysteries appear in the Nazca Desert of Peru, where a series of giant lines and animal figures are etched into the vast plains, visible only from high above. Some lines stretch for more than 10 kilometers. Author Eric von Däniken once boldly speculated that these were giant runways for alien spaceships. However, this theory has a fatal flaw. The ground at Nazca is soft sand, unable to support the landing of any aircraft. Today, most archaeologists believe these were giant religious symbols created by the ancient Nazca people for their gods in the sky. But for true believers, the ultimate evidence will always be unidentified flying objects, or UFOs. Since someone saw an object described as a saucer skipping on water over Washington state in 1947, flying saucers have become synonymous with alien visitors. Fueled by science fiction movies and a general public suspicion of government cover-ups, the myth grew stronger. The most famous of these is the Roswell incident of 1947. A crashed flying saucer, several alien bodies, and high-level military secrecy. The story had all the elements of a conspiracy theory. However, the truth is often more mundane than the legend. What crashed in the desert that year was indeed unusual, but it wasn't an alien spacecraft. It was a high-altitude surveillance balloon used for military reconnaissance. And the so-called bodies that witnesses saw were actually test dummies used in experiments. So how do we explain the countless photos and videos? Hoax debunking expert John Lundberg once again revealed the secret for us. With a simple model, some fishing line, and some post-processing, he easily created a convincingly realistic UFO photo on his computer. He lamented that when you try to reveal the truth to believers, they don't thank you. Instead, they see you as a heretic and defend their beliefs with even more complex logic. Although all the evidence on Earth fails to stand up to scrutiny, there was a moment in the vastness of the universe that made the scientific community hold its breath, believing we had truly made contact. The story takes place on the night of August 10th, 1977, at the Big Ear Radio Observatory of Ohio State University. The scientists were long asleep. Only the computers were faithfully recording the white noise from deep space. Suddenly, a highly unusual signal was captured. It came from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius, more than 200 light-years away. Its strength and characteristics could not be explained by any known natural phenomenon. It was clean, pure, and extremely focused, looking just like a technological signal sent by an intelligent civilization. It lasted for a full 72 seconds, and then, as if it had never been there, completely disappeared into the background noise. The next day, when an astronomer reviewed the printed signal data, he was deeply struck by the astonishing string of characters. He excitedly wrote one word in the margin: "Wow!" The signal has been known as the WOW signal ever since. Although the world's most advanced radio telescopes including the Very Large Array in New Mexico, have since pointed in that direction countless times. All they have ever heard is silence. It became one of the most exciting and inexplicable mysteries in the history of astronomy. Were those 72 seconds the prelude to a new chapter in human civilization, or just a bizarre computer glitch? Planetary scientist David Grinspoon prefers to believe the former. He has a romantic theory. Maybe it wasn't meant for us at all. It might have been a snippet of a routine communication between two alien spaceships, and we just happened to be lucky enough to overhear a cosmic whisper at that exact moment. The fleeting nature of the wow signal also made scientists realize that passive waiting is like playing the lottery. To have a real chance of finding alien intelligence, we need to scan not thousands, but millions of stars. To achieve this ambitious goal, a new giant is taking shape on a piece of land in Northern California, the Allen Telescope Array. This will become the new home of the SETI Institute. Eventually, 350 large dish antennas will work together here, day and night, year-round, conducting an unprecedented systematic scan of the sky. With this powerful new equipment, senior astronomer Seth Shostak, for the first time, confidently made a bold prediction. He believes that within the next 20 years, the Allen Telescope Array will scan millions of star systems, and it is highly likely we will hear an echo from an alien civilization. And when that day truly comes, when we confirm that we are not the only intelligent life in the universe, how will everything change? Shostak believes it will be the biggest news in human history. He imagines, if you are a citizen of Earth in the 30th century, when you look back at the 21st century, you won't remember the wars, the technology, or the political turmoil. You will only remember that it was in that century that humanity finally broke the shell of isolation that enveloped this planet and discovered that there were other companions in the distant universe. However, a practical question remains. If they do exist, but are too far away to ever visit us, what does a one-way signal mean for us? It might be a frustrating, one-sided cosmic conversation. But Grinspoon believes that even so, its impact would be revolutionary. Because from that moment on, the question, are we alone, will be answered forever. Knowing that someone is out there, that fact alone is enough to change everything. However, not everyone is optimistic about first contact. Professor Stephen Hawking of Cambridge University once issued a stern warning. He worried that if aliens did show up, human survival could be threatened. "I think it would be a disaster," he stated bluntly. "The extraterrestrials would probably be far in advance of us. The history of advanced races meeting more primitive people on this planet is not very happy, and they were the same species. I think we should keep a low profile, but perhaps it's already too late. For the past century, our radio and television signals have been leaking into the universe, spreading outward at the speed of light. This means we have already lit a campfire in the dark forest of the cosmos. One day, if there is intelligent life out there, they will know we are here. Of course, we can also hold on to a brighter hope that an advanced civilization capable of interstellar travel has long since surpassed the barbaric stages of conquest and war. Let us hope that if they do arrive, they come in peace."